Are we on? Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, good, good. Well, welcome everybody. It's just such a joyous Sunday. We're lifting the roof, so thank you. I'm Reverend Alexandra Musser, and I am so grateful to be here today. I would like to start by bringing us into a moment of prayer. Beloved Mother, Father, God, there is a oneness of love and grace and beauty, health, abundance, a harvest of the good and more good in life. And that is here, right now. We feel, each and every single one of us, as being the beloved of the beloved, being in the presence. And we know that all these things and more are ours by divine birthright. It is the Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. And so here we are with open hearts and open minds and open hands to serve, to do that work of spirit that is ours to do, to uplift, to bring comfort, to bring joy, to bring awareness of the divine to all situations, helping everyone remember that each and every single one of us is the beloved of the beloved, is a child of God. And so I give such great thanks for everybody here, for this awareness, for spirit in each and every single one of us, and for the opportunity to come here and be our authentic beloved selves in the community that lifts us up. Gratefully, I release these words into that fertile soil of law from whence they do not return unfulfilled. And we affirm it together by saying, Amen. Amen. And so it is. Thank you. So I would like to start, as always, with a little story. So that man, the grouchy guy over there, his name is Banta. Happened to Banta is something that unfortunately happens to many people during difficult times. He lost his job. And Banta has a family, he has 3 kids, he's got a house, he has a wife. Now they're relying on just her income. He has been a good and faithful follower of God, and he goes to temple and he prays and he says, God, please let me win the lotto just one time. I need to feed my kids. I need to take care of my family. I need to pay a mortgage. I have so much pressure and I don't know how to respond. And so the lottery comes and it goes and he doesn't win. And so Banta goes to temple again. And he prays for the same stuff, and he just pours himself out passionately. And then the numbers come out, and he picks it up, and he didn't win. And so then he goes the 3rd time, and he's really angry, and he says, now look, God. And for those of you that are reading the book from Edwin Gaines, she has these kinds of conversation with God. And she says, now look here, God. So Banta says the same thing. I am in really a lot of trouble here. I've called you, and I've asked. And out of nowhere, God appears and says to Banta, you know, I have been listening to you, but you have to go and buy a lottery ticket first. So as always, it starts with us, doesn't it? Next one, please. I'd like to share a story of the widow and the fig. There was an old, poor widow that didn't have very much, and she was hungry, and she was nursing a fig tree. And finally, the fig tree produced one fig. It was ripe, it was sweet, it was beautiful, and it could have very well have served her for breakfast. But she took the fig, and she went and she took it to church, and she placed it on the altar with love, and she was beaming from ear to ear with joy. And the priest said to her, "This is your only fruit. Why is it that you're giving it away?" And she said, "This is my first fruit. It came from God and I am giving it back. I know there will be so much more." And sure enough, the next day, the fig tree was laden with figs, and there were so many, and she shared it with her friends and her neighbors, and she was so blessed because she took the first fruit and she gave it back to God. And years later, the fig tree continued to be there long after she was gone, and children in the village would walk by and point to the tree and said, "That's the fig tree that taught us to have faith." And the next, please. So we talk about divine abundance. And so what is it? It's not material wealth or external success. Edwene Gaines says that first of all is having a healthy body temple where our spiritual being can live and can be vibrant in. It is not having material things. She also says that it's about having friends and having relationships. And yes, it is about fulfilling life's work. I'm sure we've all heard the saying that if you do what you love, you never have to work a day again in your life. And that's how I feel about being here. So I have you to thank for this. We talk about infinite supply. There is plenty of everything. Edwene Gaines tells us that we have a distribution problem, that it's not that we don't have enough. And it's true. You know, I went to Walmart, I bought an eggplant, and I'm standing in line, and I noticed that it has a blemish. And that I mean, it was a nice, big, fat eggplant. It just had a blemish. And I didn't want to get out of line and go all the way back and get another one. So I said to the guy, "This one has a blemish, so I don't think I'll buy it." He put it in the trash. And we have people that are starving, all right? Maybe there can be a free produce bin somewhere for things that just have blemishes. You know, I mean, yes, if you want to pay $1.50 a pound, maybe you'd like one without blemishes, but if you're hungry, you can just cut around the blemish, right? There is plenty. It is truly a distribution problem. And where does it all come from? It comes from God. It comes from Spirit, which is not an external thing. It is in and throughout all things and ourselves. So divine mind is the source of all good. And it is limitless, because God would never create a situation where people have to do without things that they need. But we also have free will, and we create these situations sometimes not only for ourselves, but for our fellow human beings, which is heartbreaking. So we know that there is one mind. That mind is God's mind. And that mind is our mind, my mind, right here, right now. And the things that I need are made available to me. I'm going to digress a little bit and just share something briefly about this morning. I got up and I had a flat tire. And I called somebody to come and change the tire out for me because my husband's not here with me this weekend, and he couldn't get the lug nuts off. And so the only thing to do was to tow me to Walmart. So he was very nice, and it wasn't very expensive. And thank you, TJ, for coming to get me from Walmart. And they told me that they don't have tires for me. So I'm a little bit concerned about going home to Sholo, which is a 3-hour drive with a little donut, and then I'm a lead foot, and it can't go more than 55 miles an hour. So I know the problem is me, but I've already said the problem is all of us. So it's, it happens. And they don't have any tires for me until Wednesday. So I'm sitting in this chair, and I'm thinking about today's talk, and I write out my tithe check, and the phone rings, but it's silenced. It's some 928 number, so it's local. I ignore it. It rings again. I can see it. And I pick it up, and I go, "Hello." And it's the people from Walmart. They found 4 tires, and they're on sale. And I can have them by noon today. So, and this is what the prosperity book and these ideas are all about, you know. It just, I'm like, wow. And he says, well, these tires are a little bit, you know, heavier on the sides than your other tires. But it'll be good, because what happened was a ding in the sidewall. Because sometimes when I make my right turns, I just, it happens. It happens. The next one, please. Charles Fillmore called it spiritual substance, the invisible essence from which all things are formed. It is not something that we earn or chase. We know that if you chase anything, it will run. It is something that we align with. And from Wayne Dyer, abundance is not something we acquire. It is something that we tune into. And so we have to think this way. And we have to feel the emotion of it. And I know how difficult it is sometimes when you're in a situation of lack to tell yourself some story. You might repeat it through all kinds of affirmations, but you don't believe it. And so what I'm going to share with you is a technique that I use. It's very difficult to go from negative to positive, and we all have negative times or feelings or fears. But it is okay, and it is easy to go from negative to neutral by simply thinking of something pretty that is. Clouds, flowers, grass, your dog, your cat. So you're going from that to neutral. And then from neutral, you can move yourself over to the positive. I don't think that we can go the 180 degrees, folks. I don't think, I mean, some people can at the master level. I've never been able to do it. But I can go, and we can all go, from lack, limitation, fret, worry, negativity, to neutral, because there's enough landmarks everywhere that will bring us to neutral. And from there, you only have half a journey left to go. Next, thank you. From Emily Cady, Lessons in Truth. She says that each one of us is like a fountain fed by the reservoir of God. So think of yourself as a fountain of infinite joy, infinite abundance, infinite good, infinite love, infinite everything that needs to come forth through you, whether it's a gentle touch for someone or a reminder or forgiveness, self-forgiveness. We are that fountain, and it is fed by God, so we will never, never run out. Each one of us is a radiating center, continually filled and replenished from the reservoir, and yet giving out in all directions that which we receive. And so this pertains to the law of circulation. We're talking about the rhythm of harvest and abundance. It's seasonal. There's a rhythm, there's a pace to it. It's the same thing with us. What's the law of circulation? There are seasons. There are times in our lives where we have to allow ourselves to be uplifted and helped by others. And there are times when we pass that forward. And that's the season and the rhythm of it. We are one. We are like the sea of human brotherhood, and we have, in sisterhood, we have the tides, the inflows and the outflows. And so we should no more complain about that than the sea would complain that sometimes there are low tides. It's just the cycle of life. Next, please. Florence Scovel Shinn, abundance is a divine right. All that is mine by divine right is now released and reaches me in great avalanches of abundance, under grace and miraculous ways. Let's say that together, shall we? All that is mine by divine right is now released and reaches me in great avalanches of abundance, under grace and in miraculous ways. like phone calls from people you don't know when your phone is silent. So be open to unexpected good. That's another thing that we're talking about here, miraculous ways. We tend to define how we're going to get whatever we're going to get and how it's going to help us. And so once we've defined it, we're tunnel vision. Okay, this is where it's coming from. It's not here. And we need to really be open, completely open, 360 degrees, three-dimensionally open, looking for those miraculous ways. And how do we recognize them? By having our hearts and minds open, by knowing that I don't know how this might work, but God's got this, And so remember, miraculous ways, because what is miraculous to us is not a miracle at all to God. In fact, I don't even like the term miracle because it says they're good things that they really shouldn't happen. When they happen, it's unique, It's not. It's only because we're not looking for them all the time. Although some people think that life is a battle, it is actually a game of giving and receiving. So she wrote The Game of Life and how to play it. And so you think about it, a game of giving and receiving. The tides, the rhythms, the inflows and the outflows. When do I rely on others? When do I step out in faith? When am I grounded that I can reach out a hand or help somebody and be there for them so they know that we're one, and that whatever I give and whatever I do for this person is not me doing it. It is Spirit as me and through me. And what a magnificent feeling that is when we do that, isn't it? Doesn't it just feel so elatingly wonderful? Next, please. This was there was a problem with the slide, which you can see. And I try to correct it, but our admin is on vacation. God bless Leah, well deserved. It says, attitude is, gratitude relates to the law of increase. Complaint is the law of decrease. Yes, thank you. So isn't that really true? The more grateful that we are, the better off we are. The more we complain, guess what we get? Because what we focus on expands. And so my training is in Centers for Spiritual Living. And I know that spiritually, Unity and CSL are very much aligned. The Fillmores and the co-founders of Unity and Ernest Holmes, the founder of Center for Spiritual Living, that used to be Religious Science, had the same teacher, Emma Curtis Hopkins. But in CSL, we teach that we don't do denials. Now, you can do denials. I'm not telling you how to practice or what to believe. But when we do a denial, what are we doing? We're bringing that which we deny into our focus and consciousness. And so if you're spending hours and hours and hours doing denials and they're not working, I suggest that we look at the complaint related to the law of decrease. And if denials are working, whatever, we're not here in any of these teachings to tell people what to believe. We're simply here to share with one another what works and what doesn't work for me or for you or for someone else, so that we can try all these different modalities to come together and to have that beautiful, beautiful spiritual expression. And the next one, please. Eric Butterworth saw prosperity as consciousness. And of course he would, because consciousness is that place where we align with spirit. Consciousness is where we go into, and there we are safe. There all is God and all is good. And prosperity is there. Again, not that we go there looking for money, but we go there looking for the time we need to self-care and to self-nurture. We go there for the relationships that we need to share with others and that make us feel good. So prosperity is all of these things. And when we go into the consciousness and we envision these things and we feel them and we are grateful, then that's what attracts and magnifies these things to us. So again, the goal is not to make money or to acquire things, but to achieve the consciousness through which substance will flow forth when and as you need it. I want to talk a little bit about the idea of ownership. And they say, well, you can't take it with you. We don't really own anything. When we think we own something, is we've paid for the right to singularly possess this thing. And that's great until we no longer want it. And then it's so difficult to sell, right? To be rid of it. There is really no such thing as ownership. If we could all have unlimited use of whatever we need. Edwene Gaines says that she believes there'll be a time that we will no longer be using currency. And she got that from Charles Fillmore. I hope that would be the case. Because what we do with currency is we get stuff. And then we store it in case we need it later. And then before you know it, we need a bigger place. And then we have a little extra room, and we find something else, and we store it in there too. And I'm guilty of the same thing, because we've been taught that the more stuff you have, the better off you are. And people know that if you need something, you could call Alex, or, maybe you can call Julie or Ken, and, because they have stuff, and they'll lend it to you, or they'll help you with it. But then you just have too much stuff. And do you ever feel the energy of too many things? It weighs you down. I just sometimes feel that it needs to go. It needs to go. When we sold our place in Mexico a couple of 2-3 weeks ago, I was just giving things away, and my husband goes, oh, no, we're going to need this. And so, and there's all different kinds of people like that. It's fine. It's a never-ending game for us like this. But some people are, and I was speaking with Christine about that a little bit earlier. Whatever it is, it's okay, as long as you understand that maybe if one day you wake up and you feel, what is all this heavy energy, and I can't even think straight, maybe thin out some things and bless somebody else with it. The next slide, please. We do not give to get. We give because we have already received. Yeah. And so when I wrote my check, I didn't expect a call about tires or that they would be on sale, and I don't know if that's what did it, but it was like, this is really cool. I'm going to share that. We bless what has begun, and we trust what is becoming. Because again, it is the rhythm of things coming and going. Not all plants live forever. Sometimes a plant just starts to die. I have a spider plant at home right now. It was thriving. It's just not thriving anymore. It's its season. Maybe it'll come back. Maybe it's time to put something else in that pot with it and other things. Maybe need some friends. I don't know. But it is a cycle. Something is begun and something is becoming. And even in the dead of winter, something has begun. It is sleeping beneath the snow. It's sleeping beneath the ice. We trust that it comes with the spring, and we trust that it comes into full bloom in the summer. So do not let your visual perception or your fears or your sense of lack tell you that something has not begun and that you're just looking at emptiness. That is not the truth. The next, please. So we talk about spiritual pre-trusting, gratitude, and divine timing. And what is spiritual pre-trust? When we know something good is going to happen. When we look for unexpected good. When we expect things to go well. And we give that gratitude before that. And what does that do? It attracts that which we're trying to bring forth. If in the middle of my drama with the car this morning, I would have thought, oh my God, I'll never get to church on time, and what am I going to do? And then I would have been completely rattled, and then of course I wouldn't have been thankful for that. But I made a conscious effort, and we can all make the same conscious efforts all the time to say, I'm going to stay centered. I am so grateful that I'm going to get to church on time, and I was here a few minutes before 9:30. I know this is all going to work out. I don't know how. I personally do not know how to change a tire. But in divine and perfect timing, it worked out. And this is not the only instance in my life or similar instances in your life when you can think back and you knew that you were in alignment and things just worked out in that way. And for that, we give thanks. That was not a miracle from the standpoint that it's rare and it happens once in a blue moon. In fact, miracles should happen all the time. The next one. We are stewards of the sacred. If we think of ourselves as the stewards of the sacred, as the beloved of the beloved, and the children of the Most High, then all the good, who has access to all the good? It is us. We are the children of God. And by being stewards of the sacred, not only is there enough for each and every single one of us, but for others. We must always, particularly during these difficult times, think about other people. We have to be mindful. The idea that there's only $1 left and I'm going to have it or you're going to have it is not the truth of this earth. And so think always, I want that, but do I want to take the last piece of fruit? We're taught as kids not to get the last piece of fruit, not to have the last piece of cake. Well, maybe sometimes we can, but if you're negotiating with someone, or if you are in the middle of thinking that I want this, do you really think that you could get it from someone else and they're without, and now you've got it and you feel good, and that you have done something wonderful? Can you walk away from that feeling good? I know there are people that do that, but in new thought, for those of us that consider ourselves on the cusp of being awakened, consider ourselves being spiritual leaders and stewards of a world that works for all. Can we really take the very last thing that somebody else needs and make ourselves feel good? Because yay, we won. It is not a good feeling. My husband and I recently negotiated for a place here that we hope that I'll be here more permanently in. And I had a feeling that we could probably save another $5,000. But the woman that inherited the property was struggling with payments. I knew about that. She lives out of state. She lost her brother. And we let it go. I thought, this is not going to make or break my life. And I don't want to take that last $5,000 off the table. And so sometimes if I needed it, if it was the last thing that I needed, I probably would have. But I thought, it's not going to change my life. Maybe it'll change her life. And where did this idea come from? From consciousness and divine mind. It wasn't because I'm so generous or any of that stuff. In fact, it still bugged me that I did that. But you have to listen to these things. And who knows, when the last something on the table is something I really need, and someone else will say, you can have it. Because with the seasons, there will be those times. There will be that tide. There will be that rhythm. Next, please. The fig does not fret over its ripening. The vine does not rush into its bloom. Spirit whispers, trust the rhythm. First fruits are not the end. They are the promise. And so this is the message that we have for today, to be grateful for what we have, to know that there is a greater bounty available to us than we can ever envision, to give thanks for it, to know that it is not just material, and that if we just absolutely cannot find it or see it, to go within, go in faith, go into that place that we share with divine mind, our own consciousness, and find it there. Next, please. So this ends our first series on the first harvest, which was our topic for August. And remember, it is not with finality that we end this, but with the expectancy, because the true time of harvest is coming up in the fall. We were simply sharing about first fruits, being grateful, not looking at it as the last fruit, and anticipating all the more that the first fruit announces to us. The field is still ripening for each and every single one of us. The soul is listening, and abundance is still unfolding. As long as we are on this earth, we are here to do work, and that is abundant work, and it is joyful, and we must celebrate our awareness of it. Give with joy and gladness. Take with joy and gladness. Forgive ourselves and others, and just celebrate the rhythms of wherever we are on our path. And so now, if I can invite you to move into the silence with me, and we will have a brief meditation. I invite you to take these images of abundance, of fruit, of harvest, of giving, of sharing, of receiving, into the rhythm of your mind and into the core of your being. Feel how it moves through an ebb and flow. You are never alone. As the Footprints poem teaches us, when you only see one set of footprints in the sand, it's because Spirit carried you. Maybe Spirit, as someone else, is there to carry you. Trust for that. Do not ever, ever, ever say, if it's to be, it's up to me, because that is limiting. You, I, are but a small fraction, a minimum, tiny, tiny, infinitesimal fraction of the allness that is God, and that is good, and that is divine mind. If it is to be, it is up to God as me, as my friends, as my spiritual community, as my extended family, as the humanity that I am a part of. So bless your good. Know that it is there. Open your minds and hearts to divine possibilities from all directions. And in all things, give thanks. For you are loved, you are guided, guarded, and protected, and you are infinitely blessed. And so it is. Amen. Thank you.